Welcome back. It is time now for our political roundtable. And joining us today, Democratic analyst Marianne Marsh and Republican analyst Ginny Buckingham. Thanks all for being here. First, let's stay with Everett and the controversial soccer stadium proposal. Do you think the Kraft Group's project will end up being a good thing for Everett, Boston, and all the other surrounding communities? Let's start with you, Ginny.
It's the biggest no-brainer I've ever seen in development. It's a private investment. It's going to take this horrible environmental disaster and clean it up for generations to come. They should make a deal. They should make it fast. And the Everett new mayor, who we just had on, should make sure Mayor Wu doesn't steamroll over him trying to get more concessions.
Marianne.
Unless you live in Charlestown, where there will be a lot of traffic and you put a parking garage there for 10,000 cars, it's going to be awful living there. So we don't know the answer yet. They're in mediation. They have to the end of the year to get this deal done. And if not, they go into binding arbitration. So it's clear that Boston, specifically Charlestown, Everett, and others, there's a lot at stake, but they got to work it out.
Ginny, I just want to ask you quickly, because you have a lot of experience with parking for big projects. It's not easy to get to that site from the highway.
No, and there has to be investment in public transportation. There has to be more use of the waterways, of course. They're figuring it out for the casino. That's one of the most successful casinos in the country. They can figure it out for a soccer stadium.
One quick thing. This was a big issue during the Boston mayoral race, and we haven't heard much about it since then, and how this turns out by the end of the year will be fascinating.
All right, let's talk about the Massachusetts U.S. Senate race. The Senate primary is going to be one of the most closely watched across the country. A new Suffolk University, as she rubs her hands, Suffolk University Boston Globe poll is finding that Senator Ed Markey is leading his challenger, Congressman Seth Moulton. About 45% of likely Democratic primary voters say they would back the incumbent, Markey, compared to about half as many, 22% for Moulton. But if Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley enters the race, things change significantly. If it's a three-way race, she takes the lead. It's close. 34.5% of likely Democratic primary voters say they'd back Pressley. Markey would be very close behind, 34.1%, and then Moulton would have the support of about 16% of voters. There is still a long ways to go. We're talking, 9 months here? Is this still anyone's race, Marianne?
As we've said here for weeks, if Ayanna Pressley gets into the race, she becomes a prohibitive frontrunner. There's no question this poll is proof. So we will have to see. It looks like she's coming towards this race, but we'll have to see when the announcement is. But I think the most fascinating thing about this poll is she leads in almost every demographic group, geographic, age, race, all of it. And what it exposed is Markey's weakness, because when Seth Moulton got in, he was way behind, but then he jumped into almost high single digits behind Markey. Now you put Ayanna in, and Markey's got it on both sides of him, from his left and from his right, and he's getting squeezed. Last point here, I think he's going to take all the wrong lessons in this race from the last race he ran. He's like, I beat Joe Kennedy. I've got the social media machine. I can beat these two. It's a different time, different candidates, and a different race.
Are you surprised, Ginny, at those poll numbers?
I'm not surprised, and I will be surprised if it turns out to only be a three-way race. What this poll says to me is it is anyone's for the taking, and that Markey is in trouble, and I bet more Democrats jump in, and then that might be his only salvation. Markey might be able to win because he has the most name recognition if it's a free-for-all in the Democratic side.
In a crowded field, do you think it'd be an easier
I do, definitely. I'm sure he does too.
From the Republican viewpoint, though, do they want Pressley to win this primary? Because it does make it easier for them when it's a statewide race, running against somebody who is more on the left side of the Democratic Party.
No, because the energy would be behind change. We are in a change dynamic right now in politics all across the country, including here, and she would be seen as a face of change, making it harder for the Republican to make that argument.
Is there a risk for Democrats, though, if they go with the farthest left candidate?
None, zero, nada, nothing. Because this is a Democratic primary. Ayanna does the best with Democratic primary voters, and it's clear that's the general election too. It's not. They're not. Massachusetts is not going to send any Republican against any. With Donald Trump in the White House.
Not for a long time, I must say, since I tried to do it in the 90s.
I feel like I poked the bear.
Yeah. I'll take it from here. A judge has dismissed the cases against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. The judge found that acting U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan was illegally appointed. She was handpicked by President Trump. Is this a setback for the president, and if so, how big?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is big. What do they say about an eye for an eye? Everyone goes blind. He feels lawfare was played against him, and now he's trying to do the same to his political opponents. It's a disaster all around. Thank goodness the courts are standing up for what's right.
White House is saying, we will be appealing very soon. What do you think, Marianne?
They're going to appeal, and but for Donald Trump, it's not even a verdict. In the end, he just wants to make people's lives miserable, bankrupt them, make them worry, ruin their lives, ruin their reputations, ruin their work, all of it, and that's almost as good to him.
Tell us what you really think.
I did.
All right. On this long Thanksgiving weekend, something for New Yorkers perhaps to be thankful for, we saw a pretty remarkable meeting between the New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani and President Donald Trump in the White House. Trump had called him previously a communist lunatic. That was nowhere to be found. Mamdani has called Boston Mayor Michelle Wu his role model. But when Mayor Wu was asked if she'd have a similar meeting with the president, she told reporters she is not interested in a, quote, bromance with the federal regime. This could pay off for Mayor-elect Mamdani. Is there a benefit perhaps for Mayor Wu to go to the White House?
It's two different objectives. I think the meeting between Trump and Mamdani was Trump's way of trying to grease his return to New York when he leaves the White House, whenever that is. Remember, he's been in self-imposed exile since he was found guilty on 34 counts in New York courts, and he's been at Mar-a-Lago ever since. I think he's trying to look to say, I want to come back to the city that I've always lived in, that made me who I am, and this is his way of, sucking up to him, basically. I do think there may be something more nefarious there on Trump's list against Mamdani, but Mamdani handled him just as well as Michelle Wu could.
It could pay off, though, do you think, Ginny, for New York? I mean, there's a lot of things on the table that the feds have control over that New York does not. They want to get the congestion pricing permanently put through. He wants free buses. He needs money for that. There's a lot of things the feds could have a say in.
Look, if Mayor Wu really wanted to solve some of the problems she's accusing the Trump administration of, she would go have this meeting, because he is the easiest to, quote, manipulate by going to the Oval Office and paying him a few compliments, and then he backs down.
So there is value for her in picking up the phone and
Does
saying,
she
I want
want
to meet
ICE
with
to
you.
back down? Then go talk to President Trump, and I bet they will.
No, she will do it on her terms, with her values and her characteristics, and that's where the city of Boston supports her on that as well.
The press conferences on City Hall Plaza have not changed a thing.
What, you think
They've
Harvard
not
should
changed
wave
a
the white
thing.
flag and say, okay, we're going to
I'm
suck
not
up to
saying
Donald
that,
Trump?
but there's
Yes,
a reason
that's what you're
to
doing.
compromise and to collaborate and to communicate. That's what political life is supposed to be about.
It is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea.
All right. The CDC recently updated its webpage on autism and vaccines. It now says a link between the two has been ignored despite many studies finding no such link. RFK Jr. says he told the CDC to make this change. What do you think he's trying to do here? And what kind of an impact is this going to have, Ginny?
It will completely eradicate public trust in our public health institutions that are already kind of wobbling because of COVID and people's confusion there. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing for parents. It's a terrible thing for doctors. It's a terrible thing for these kids who aren't going to get vaccinated and are going to have diseases that should have been gone a long time ago. It's awful.
Marianne?
Robert Kennedy's trying to make America sick again. There's a measles epidemic as a result in 43 states, over 1,753 cases. People are dying from it. I will also point to the cancer cuts that he made that actually directly affected Caroline Kennedy's daughter, Tatiana Schlossberg. I encourage everybody to go read that beautiful and brutal essay in The New Yorker and how she sought a cure when he had cut those funds.
All right, our discussion keeps going after the break.